Good evening, and I'm really excited to be able to speak to you about something that has really impacted my life and something that I truly love. And it's the football club Tottenham Hotspur. And for what I hope to get out of this presentation is that you'll be able to appreciate and love Tottenham Hotspur as much as I do. And in order to help you understand, I've decided to give you the history of Tottenham Hotspur. And it all started in the year of 1882, where the grammar school boys established the club, Tottenham Hotspur, from their church called All Hallows. And they established in the town of North London, and they were the king of North London for 4 years, until a team in the year of 1886 decided they wanted to share the spoils of North London, and that team was Arsenal. And Arsenal has been a bitter rival for Tottenham for since 1886, actually. And they've had many fantastic and amazing games, and some of the greatest games to ever be played in such a historic rivalry. And they actually got a nickname called the Cup Specialists. And it all started at the turn of the century in 1901. Where Tottenham won the FA Cup as a non-league affiliated football club. And they're the only team that have been able to win the FA Cup and not be affiliated with a league. And they hold that record today, even to this day. And it'll probably be a record that will never be broken. And this was the start of an amazing run of major trophies. For since the beginning of 1882, they have won a total of 2 league titles, 8 FA Cups, 2 League Cups, 1 UEFA Cup Winners' Cup, and 2 UEFA Europa League Cups. And these trophies are what hold Tottenham Hotspur to their historical runs. But one of the most miraculous things came from the legend Bill Nicholson. And Bill Nicholson was actually a player for Tottenham Hotspur, and he actually won a couple of the FA Cups as a player. But he eventually took over as manager of Tottenham Hotspur in the year of 1958, where he led Tottenham to 1 out of the 2 league titles, 3 out of their 8 league FA Cups, 2, both of the League Cups, 1 UEFA Winners' Cup, and 1 UEFA Cup. And the special thing about that UEFA Cup was that was the first European Cup to be established. And Tottenham were the very first team to ever win that cup. And there have been runs throughout the years, but one that represents us today, Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, is Tottenham's legendary run to the UEFA Champions League final of 2019, predominantly the semi-final. Tottenham were considered underdogs in this tournament, for they were put in a group table with Barcelona and Inter, the Spanish giants and the Italian giants of the league, of their respective leagues. And a lot of people thought, they're not even going to get past the group stages. But through thick and thin, Tottenham were able to get through the group stages and even overtake the great Manchester City, who won the Premier League title that year. And they fought their way all the way to the semifinals to go against another underdog known as Ajax, which are located in Amsterdam, Netherlands. And Ajax also had a huge David and Goliath story about them as well. They beat the legendary Juventus, who had players such as Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the world's greatest players that we know of today. And so as they came to this Champions League final, they're like, who's going to win? We don't know. They both performed great quarterfinals. It could go anyone's direction. And so the way the Champions League semifinal works is 1 game's played at Tottenham in London, and then the second game's played in Amsterdam at Ajax's stadium. And so it started out in North London, And it was a very good game. Both teams, both trying to get that point, trying to score, trying to win, and get their team onto the final. And unfortunately for Tottenham, Ajax pulled away and scored a goal, forcing Tottenham to go down to Ajax and score at least 2 goals to get themselves to the Champions League final. So Tottenham, they practiced, they prepared, and headed up to Amsterdam to face Ajax for the second leg. And Ajax, in the first half, they were just dominant. They scored 2 more goals, and so that put Tottenham behind 3-0 on aggregate. And so, not only did Tottenham have to score 3 goals to go on to the Champions League final, they needed to score 3 goals in 45 minutes. And so, this video is going to show you the impact of a player named Lucas Moura, who probably has one of the greatest hat tricks known to history. And here's that highlights of that second half of the UEFA's Champions League final.
It's in there and stays in the header. And see it.
And those are the 2 goals that Ajax scored in the first half.
First into the middle, brilliant goal. Spurs have hope. Lucas Moura stays it in. Ajax in trouble here. Llorente saved by Onana. Oh, it's still pinging around the area. Lucas Moura in possession. Oh, incredible! Lucas Moura scored again. Is the comeback on? They're sliding. It's in. Lucas Moura with the hat-trick goal. Spurs are going to the Champions League final for the first time in their history. I do not believe it.
And that Champions League semifinal will probably go down as one of the greatest semifinals to ever take place in all of time. Because not only did Lucas Moura score 3 goals to send Spurs on into the Champions League final, he scored essentially what would be known in basketball as a buzzer beater in a final goal on pretty much the last kick of the game to send Spurs on to the Champions League final. And unfortunately the run ended and they lost in the final to Liverpool 1-0. But it was still such a legendary semifinal that caused a huge impact on my life of why Spurs have meant so much to me. And so let's talk about a few Spurs famous players that have played for Spurs. The first one is Jimmy Greaves. Jimmy Greaves actually played under Bill Nicholson, and he was actually one of England's finest strikers. And he actually led England to a couple World Cups, but for Tottenham, he netted 266 goals and 308 appearances for Tottenham. Now, moving a little bit forward in time, we have Gareth Bale and Luka Modric. Gareth Bale and Luka Modric played together in the same year as Tottenham, and they actually both left at the same time to go on to play for Spanish giants Real Madrid, and have had very successful careers. One of them, Luka Modric, actually did something that a lot of people didn't think were possible. He led Croatia to the World Cup final, their very first ever World Cup final. And he also won the Ballon d'Or that year. And from recently, the Ballon d'Or has been a competition of who's the greatest football player that year. And it's usually been Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, and it's pretty much been alternating back and forth between those two until Luka Modric changed the way that happened and won the Ballon d'Or that year of 2019. And then two players that currently play for Spurs are Harry Kane and Heung-min Son. Harry Kane is Tottenham's captain for the Hotspur, and he's also the captain of England. Harry Kane has won the Golden Boot twice, 2 years in a row actually, back to back, and he also won the World Cup Golden Boot in 2018. Heung-min Son is considered to be one of the greatest Asian footballers to this time. As the Premier League website says this about him: Tottenham Hotspur's son is the highest scoring Asian in competition history, with his 51 goals being more than double the total of anyone else. And he's also had a pretty major World Cup feat, where he actually helped South Korea beat 2014 World Cup champions Germany and prevented them of going into the World Cup final. And so as we see this history of Tottenham Hotspur, we see that Tottenham have had their ups, they've had their downs, but the impact that Tottenham Hotspur has had on me is that they've shown how much not only do they care for their club, but they also care for the fans. And they're trying to constantly help fans, even currently, with a lot of these things that are going on with the coronavirus and the Black Lives Matter movement. And they're doing all they can to help us become better in this world. And that is the impact that Tottenham Hotspur has played in my life. And so when you hear, "Glory, glory, Tottenham Hotspur," and when the Spurs go marching on, maybe you'll sing along and remember this presentation. And I hope that Tottenham Hotspur has impacted your life. So, are there any questions about this presentation that I presented to you this evening?
Who's your favorite player?
Ooh. So I think my favorite player, as we mentioned before, is Harry Kane. He's such a fun player to watch. He's really exciting to watch, and the way he can just score goals from anywhere on the pitch is just amazing. For an example, is one time they were playing Juventus in just like a summer league cup, and they were down. It was actually tied 2-2, and Harry Kane gets the ball in the middle of the field, and let me tell you, the middle of the field to the goalpost is about 50 yards away. He gets the ball in the middle of the field, and he just kicks it. Goes right over the goalkeeper and bounces in the net, and I'm like, that is an example of an amazing striker. And so, Harry Kane is probably one of my favorite favorite players for Tottenham Hotspur. Any other questions?
So, with the rivalry between Arsenal and Tottenham, who has usually taken the lead?
It's actually been very kind of split down the middle. For a while there, in the early 90s and the beginning of the 2000s, Arsenal was just such a dominant powerhouse in the Premier League, and so Arsenal really just would always beat Tottenham, and it was such a pain and agonizing thing to watch until lately Arsenal's kind of fallen off a little bit, and so Tottenham have been able to kind of build that lead back and starting to kind of come back in that fight for North London, as they say. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.